Ladies and gentlemen, now I want to start off with a disclaimer that Black Clover has only been live for about 4 or 5 days now, and that this tier list is just kind of a rough guide, a rough framework as to how I'm kind of viewing the characters, viewing the meta in the game currently. I played a lot of the beta, man, like 70, 80 hours, something around that, just grinding it out like 24/7 for the 8 or so days that we had it. And I got rank 1 in PvP on the beta, and currently I'm rank 3 on PvP on the KR version. So I've sweated, I'm fighting all the big whale teams that are like LR level 100 characters, 5-star awakening, they've done like crazy rotations on the banner. So I like to think that I've got a really good foundational perspective on the differences between the beta and the live version of the game and how the meta is really different. And the core thing is that damage is so much more significant than it was on the beta version. I would say damage output from characters is probably up about 200% in comparison to what it was on the beta. On the beta, I do PvP matches, and they would be anywhere between like 60 to maybe 100 rounds. And now on the global version, I've got like a combo team that pretty much wins every single match in about 10 to 20 rounds. And even against like full LR level 100 teams, you can check out the latest video, the last one we uploaded on the channel, but like damage output also across the board is so much more significant, not only on your characters, but also on enemies as well. If you're progressing in the game, you go up to, 100,000, 150,000 stages, you're going to notice that if you allow the opponent to have a turn, they're pretty much going to one-shot you. So the meta on Global is much more focused on having really high damage output, having really strong control abilities, having really strong damage reduction. So either stuff to, prevent damage significantly, prevent the one-shot, completely stop opponents attacking, or kill them before they can attack you and one-shot you. So that is like the fundamental core difference and kind of the baseline for all my theory crafting and this tier list as well. And I actually have the pleasure to have played pretty much the majority of the SSR characters or played against them significantly in Arena on defense. So I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on with most of them. And I do love a lot of balancing in this game, man. There are so many interesting interactions. But one thing I value a lot lower than other players, and maybe this is because they haven't, gotten to the 150k plus stages, but I just feel like healers, because there is so much damage in the current version of the game, are significantly less valuable. And like, it's Green Mimosa, I was even like thinking about putting her down in A tier because she's just such a slow unit. She does not have the mitigation. If I see her in Arena, she's just instantly clapped. She does absolutely nothing for the team. I've noticed as well a lot of top KR whales are just benching her now after even like going so many rotations on the banner and getting her 5-star awakening. It seems like damage is too much, the meta's too fast, it's too aggressive to actually let healing units be viable. And one of the problems that Mimosa has as well, because I think this is probably going to be like maybe the biggest upset in the comments section, is that her speed is really, really slow. She's like one of the like bottom, I think like 10% slowest units in the game. So it's really difficult for her to actually get around to her turn and heal. And by that time, there are just so many other characters that can put up like massive damage reduction or like stun or control the opponents that get so much more value. And that's why, like, at least in my opinion, and from what I've experienced in top tier PvP, the 100% like best support character for mitigation is Vengeance, man. He is absolutely crazy. This guy, he has an ultimate ability that not only like attacks everybody, which like really isn't the big thing there, but also applies Fortified level 3 to all allies for 2 turns. So that's a 34% damage reduction. Really solid, again, lasts for 2 turns there. But also on top of that, you've got a massive counter-attack ability, which I believe triggers the first skill of certain characters. So if that goes, that will always go on the highest attack ally that you have. And if it goes on Red Yami, dude, it's like every single time he gets attacked, he's going to cleave the entire team as well. And it's so good on defense. So the combo of like Vengeance and Yami seems pretty damn insane, but there are ways to counter Vengeance as well. But this is crazy, man. This is very, very powerful. And especially for like PvE scenarios as well. Again, you want that big damage reduction. 34% is going to prevent your characters from getting one shot. And then top of that is the ability to and the chance to turn enemies into a tree on his first skill. And he's also got the second skill, which is like a massive attack increase, a massive speed increase, and also can top stamina up of allies as well if they're below 50%. So yeah, you can make turns go a little bit faster. You can also then get the base speed increase and then like a massive attack increase of 84% as well that does last for 2 turns. So yeah, Vengeance, man, he has just so much incredible stuff that is really making him a top tier threat at the moment. And the fact on top of that he is literally the fastest character in the game, he's always going to get out ahead of everybody else, especially if you have like a speed gear set, and then you've got the chance to just continually like stun people on top of that. But like the main thing is just like that big damage reduction, dude. It just covers a lot of the burst scenarios. So yeah, personally in the top bracket now, I'm just seeing Vengeance absolutely everywhere, and the main way to counter this guy is with Lotus's ultimate ability, which again you can use turn 1. Vengeance is probably going to go first, and then Lotus can follow up after. So you apply Incapacitate, which increases damage taken by 50%. You then have a 50% chance to remove all buffs from an enemy. So this is going to proc, you know, if you're fighting 4 opponents in arena, on average like 2 out of 4 it's going to strip them of the damage reduction. So again, that can be very good. It's not 100% reliable. Sometimes it will remove it from the whole team, sometimes it won't remove anything if you're really unlucky, but generally speaking, you know, you clear about half of the buffs there, and also has a 50% chance to apply a speed reduction level 3. So this reduces speed by 55% here. Absolutely massive if this procs. So yeah, Lotus is just crazy, man. He's got like decreased stamina as well on his skill 1. You also have extend debuff duration and reduce damage resistance on the special 2, and combined attack you can also decrease stamina further. So Lotus is just amazing, and all while he's like consistently providing value, he just hits like a truck. He just hits so hard. Not as hard as Yami, but the damage output is like really nice. So Lotus was like amazing top tier character in the beta. He was arguably like the best character in the game, and now he's still like a top shelf character, at least in my opinion. Not quite as broken as he used to be, but still like broken enough that he is yeah, definitely one of my favorite characters to build into teams at the moment. And then next up, we got the Yamis. So I'm a big fan of Red Yami. What I love about Red Yami is his basic skill is AoE. It hits everybody. Use a combined attack with the person next to him, you get like another hit off Yami, and it just hits so hard. If you like fully build out Yami, give him your best attack set, you are just speeding through stuff so quickly. And also, if you crit, which he does have a very high crit chance, much higher than the beta version, you also apply a bleed to all enemies upon landing a successful crit, and then you can use this bleed using a second skill to guarantee a stun on an opponent. So, you know, if in the arena, first turn you use your bleed, and then there's an opponent that's about to use a really high value ability on their second turn, you can guarantee that you stun them. So that could be super valuable. And again, there's ways to increase the crit chance, and also it goes over 2 strikes now as well. So whenever you use that first ability, there's 2 chances of it to crit. So again, super valuable there. And also his ultimate just hits like a friggin' truck, man. It's a really nice time. But Yami is a powerhouse. We've done loads of gameplay videos on Red Yami. But the blue version, I really do not like the blue version as much, but he still hits like a train, man. What I don't like about the blue version is that his combined attack and his basic skill are both single target. So I would say overall this Yami is better in single target scenarios. It has more utility when you may need this in the future, but at least in my opinion, a lot of the utility that he has isn't like overly relevant right now or impactful enough to really like swing the match in your favor. Because he's got like on a second one, he increases his special points. He's got block health recovery to all enemies for 1 turn. Again, I talked about why I think healing just isn't really that impactful at the moment, and damage reduction is significantly more impactful. But also, even on his ultimate, it's like he can drain 3 special points for the opponent and applies total silence as well. But yeah, overall, again, I think the Red Yami's one actually has much better scaling on the additional points, because if you have a look at this, it's like, what is it? It's 10% and 10%, but the Red Yami's ultimate, dude, I think it's like 20%, 20%. And also, you know, gains the increased crit rate as well. So yeah, the ultimates on Red Yami just hit like a train, man. They're really, really good. So yeah, overall, both Yamis are like absolutely exceptional, but I do think the red version is just more valuable overall. Not to mention, when it comes to auto farming, this character is just unmatched. Again, having that massive AoE damage every single turn, just 100% reliable to hit everybody like a train, is just, you know, there's nothing that beats that, at least in my experience playing so far. So yeah, I love Red Yami, man. He's probably my favorite at the moment. And then we got this Aster, dude. This Aster is like absolutely cracked if you build him with like a really good attack set, because he gets to use his ultimate right at the start of the fight. And he's like a fairly quick character. He's got some nice base speed at 109. And he grants him an extra turn when attacking an enemy whose health is at 80% or above. So not only is he likely to be one of the first damage characters to attack, but you can go straight into an ultimate, get some crazy damage, which again, if you level up the skill as well, he's getting like 20% additional skill attack bonus from every single point in it. And also, yeah, just gains like an additional turn, and you can follow that up straight into the level 2. So you apply like an increased attack level 1 to yourself. And also you have an 80% chance of applying increased stamina, so you can get back to your turn a little bit faster and then start using the skill 1 as well, which, if you have an active buff, has a 50% chance to deal an additional attack to inflict damage equal to 70% of attack, and then also applies a 2% damage increase. So this Aster is just like, he's getting in there, he's dealing like a massive hit straight away, you can instantly follow up, he's gonna like likely boost his meter a little bit more after that as well, and then you can just go into like even more damage ramp up with the first one. So yeah, he seems so sick, and he's also got the ability to like remove an enemy's barrier before attacking on the combined attack as well, and also stacks up even further if you get his passive ability. And also gets like a increased attack as well. So I think one of those is the LR, and one of those is the 2-star Awakening one. But Aster, he's just a beast, mate. He hits like a train. I think he's probably the best and most aggressive single target character in the game currently, by a significant margin based on what I've seen so far, but I don't have mine like fully maxed out yet. I've just been at the mercy of like other Asters in PvP and watched quite a bit of gameplay, but yeah, he's mega impressive for nuking targets down. So we talked about Lotus, we also have to talk about Mars. I think Mars is like crazy underrated, dude. Like, he's got the combined attack is just absolutely ridiculous. The base stats on this guy make him an absolute fortress. If you're playing around with this guy in PvE or PvP, he just doesn't take damage. Like, he's so incredibly tanky. I think by far the most overpowered tank that I've played in the game. But the combined attack is just so nuts. You can use this first turn in combination with Red Yami, and it has a 50% chance when fully upgraded, which again takes a little bit of work, but isn't too difficult to get to even for free to play. Has a 50% chance of applying a stun to every single enemy for 1 turn. So if you're fighting 4 opponents, again, it's likely that you're going to get 2 stuns out of this, and sometimes you're going to get 3, and if you're very lucky, you're going to stun the entire team, and it's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, you can mitigate the majority of the damage fairly reliably from that. And then after that, you've got the second ability, which you can actually ramp up to a 60% stun chance. So this is like a single target ability, goes up to a 60% chance to stun, and also applies a defense reduction if you do get a stun as well. So you can kind of burst that target down, and if the stun is on cooldown, if the combined attack's on cooldown, then you can lash out a taunt, which you can scale up to an 80% chance to taunt an enemy. So again, the stun and the taunt, they're not 100% reliable. Nothing with Mars is 100% reliable, but just playing around with this character, dude, he is reliable enough to just like swing matches like all of the time. Like, Mars has really impressed me. This character was like flat out broken on the beta because he had a much higher stun chance. He even had like a stun on his special 1, and his special 2 was like an AoE stun, but the combined attack, the value is still very much there, and that was one of the things that made him you know, just absolutely ridiculous there. So yeah, I really like Mars. Mars has really stood out to me. But also, one thing to note is that he does have a paired attack with Lotus for kind of more reliable damage reduction, and also applying a taunt as well, or a chance to apply a taunt. However, I find using this is not as valuable, because if you use the combined attack and pair him with Lotus, it actually takes away the stun, and the stun is just by far the most valuable thing. Because if they're stunned, they can't do anything, and the attack reduction is not like quite high enough to actually justify like losing the stun, at least in my opinion. So yeah, I talk about this in the PvP video that I did a little bit earlier today, but honestly, I don't think using him with Lotus is the play. Using him like with any other character that just has like a really hard hitting combined attack that kind of sweeps everybody. Again, Yami is probably the ideal there. Just really seems like the way to go. And my combined attack, not only is it having like a 50% chance to stun, but it also deals about 80,000 damage. And then I can follow up with like 120k Yami sweep. And everybody's like pretty much dead or controlled by that point. So it is a little bit nuts, that pair in there. So yeah, I think Mars is being a bit underrated by the community at the moment. And then we have Finroll. Finroll is so good, dude. So good. So what makes Finroll so good is he just doesn't really have a bad card. There's always something depending on what you're looking to do. You've got the skill 1, which is a significant speed increase to the 2 allies with the lowest stamina for 2 turns. You've got the special 2, which is a really big attack buff of 55%. And also if you've got the ultimate ability, buffs on your team as well, applies a further increased damage done buff. So yeah, that one is absolutely fantastic. And then you've got the ultimate ability, which applies a massive speed increase of 55%, can remove debuffs, and also increases crit rate by 22%. And this is really significant. Again, if you get crits of characters, especially with like how crit damage scales up with certain pieces of gear, like this can just be absolutely colossal. His combined attack as well, if you pair him with somebody like Yami, applies a attack level 4 to your partner's attack, so 84% more attack for that one, and also has a 50% chance to apply 50% increased stamina to your partner, so that increases stamina by a fixed amount. Again, can top them up very quickly to a turn there. But yeah, overall, he's just fantastic. He's a very quick unit, very good support unit. If you need that character that is essentially just going to be the buffer, kind of, you know, taking up a character like Yami, giving them a lot more output, he's just, yeah, he's fantastic. I think he's like almost a must upgrade for most free-to-play rosters, because you'll find you'll get like 1 or 2 really good damage characters, and then Finroll is just gonna, you know, take them to the next level, make them attack a lot faster, make them hit a lot harder, crit more often. So yeah, I really like Finroll, man. He's you know, by far my favorite SR unit in the game at the moment currently. So then we got the S tier characters. So Mimosa, again, I just think is a little bit too slow. She just doesn't get in front of the damage like Vengeance does, and I don't think the healing is significant enough, or the meta is slow enough to really be an effective unit at the moment. So yeah, Mimosa, I've been a little bit disappointed by, but I think if you overgear content significantly and you want a healer to get topped up and feel a little bit safe, then she's all right. But also pushing some of the endgame dungeons, you get to level 100 and then you've got to push up to like level 190 units. You know, you need characters that are going to prevent that one shot, that are going to be able to stun, or else they're just not really going to extend into the end game there. But then we got Real. Real's actually a little bit of an interesting one. He has this AoE stun ability off his ultimate, which again has a 40% chance to apply, but also applies an Incapacitate level 3, increasing damage taken by 50%. So you don't really get the value off this one if you're already running Lotus and you're getting this effect. However, the 40% chance to stun is a little bit lower than Mars. You won't get the additional attack from the combined attack that you have when using Mars as well, so you can't get the like Yami booster. But I think Real's alright, and he's a bit faster than Mars as well. Like on defense, dude, I'm always like, oh god, if I see a Real, there's a chance like you know, 2 really important characters on my whole team just get stunned, and it's really annoying. So yeah, between like Mars and Real, there's maybe like a double toxic stun team. But I found Real's damage output a little bit lacking. He's like very much focused on what is it? Just, you know, debuffing, providing support. He has like a defense reduction. He can also dispel buffs as well, has a chance to. So again, he might actually work potentially as a Vengeance counter and may have some uses in this meta, but he kind of, at least like playing him at lower levels, which again, I got limited experience, and I've also like played against a lot of LR reels as well. He's never really stood out to me as a character that I'm like, okay, I need to watch out for his damage. Like Lotus does a lot of debuffs, but I'm like, okay, if I leave him alive too long, he could do something that like really screws me up if the arena attack modifiers. The more you go on, the more the damage gets. Could be a little bit scary there. So I think Real does have some potential. I think he's a character I definitely need to explore a little bit more. But I do think he's a little bit lower than top tier at the moment. But maybe top tier for something like arena defense. Maybe a good option if you need a little bit more control in your teams as well. And then we've got this member here of the what is it? Eye of the Midnight Sun Radies. And this guy has a really, really powerful barrier. I would say he's probably like the second best mitigation character, although he's a little bit slow. Grants a big barrier equal to 140% of magic attack for 2 turns, and you can scale this up, as you can see, quite exponentially by investing into upgrading this barrier. So you get like an additional 100% on it, so 240% magic attack. So that seems yeah, like it could be pretty damn huge if you gear him up. And also increases endurance as well, has a 50% chance to apply that application, and grants debuff immunity to all allies for 2 turns. I think that's only as long as the barrier is active, but I may be incorrect there. But this shield is probably the best barrier in the game that I've experienced so far. It seems to provide kind of the best mitigation. So I'd say alongside Vengeance, this is a character that can really like start to fight back against like the crazy burst waves of damage, but again still gets overpowered like fairly easy, at least in my experience, with like a really stacked Yami on offense. So yeah, I'm curious to see how this character and potential comps evolve, and whether or not there's anything you can kind of stack up onto the defense as well. I actually haven't seen like this guy in Vengeance in a team, and it now makes me want to like upgrade it and see if like stall out with Vengeance, apply this barrier, still have the reduction. Yeah, I think there may be something interesting there. So yeah, I'm curious to explore him a little bit more. But he's also got like a very powerful increased defense, which applies to, I believe, all allies for 2 turns of 140%, which again is very, very nice. And also via his combined attack and what is it? Has a chance to taunt opponents. I think this actually goes up to 100%. Yeah, when fully maxed out, so that could be a really interesting one. That is a fully reliable taunt there. And also, one of his passives increases his speed a little bit more, and also upon being attacked has a chance to passively apply taunt as well. Yeah, I think this guy, I don't know, he's definitely got a little bit of source, a little bit of potential. Maybe he belongs up there. Maybe there is something that can be done with him team-wise to kind of get him up a little bit more. And then we have like Jack, we got Fagodia and Leopold. All 3 of these are like really good single target damage characters, man. They all hit really, really hard, but they're all very single target focused. And the problem is, at the moment, I feel like AoE is just so much more valuable, especially if you've got like, 3 or 4 targets, which is pretty much 99% of the game. Like, there's just so much more valuable in AoE abilities. But if we get big bosses in the future, which we do know there's this golem boss that's coming out, I fully expect all 3 of these to be like mega for that. So yeah, I'm really, really interested to kind of take those up a little bit later once, we've had the opportunity to max out all the units we want to try out in PvP. But yeah, they're pretty cool. Then next up, we got Sally. And I think there's probably some really interesting stuff you do with like Sally and maybe Finro and Lotus to maybe like stack up Yami even more. Because she has this ultimate ability. It's an AoE, but it also applies increase all attack to all allies for 2 turns. So this is like a multi-attack buff that gives you 50% more regular attack and 50% magic attack, and also gives you 35% crit damage as well. So she's providing an additional separate attack and magic attack buff, additional crit damage buff. So if you could get the attack and also crit damage from what is it, Finro as well, and stack these up, man, might be a little bit interesting. And then also via her skill 2 as well, she has increased magic attack and also increased crit rate and also extend buff duration as well. So I'm just curious to see like what stuff could be done with Sally, but these buffs like just on her own are really, really good, man. They are phenomenal. And via their combined attack as well, she increases magic attack really significantly. Again, I think if there's a character that really scales up with magic attack quite a bit, and I need to look into this a little bit more, But yeah, she's just going to pump them so incredibly hard. So yeah, I'm really, really interested to kind of keep an eye on like Sally and some of her synergies moving forward. There seems just like absolute buffs galore here. And then you've got a unique passive as well, which increases the all attack level of a special skill by 1. So I think this applies to the, the ultimate ability. So this makes it all attack level 4, which I think then turns it up to, I don't know if that turns up to 84% attack, but yeah, I mean, that seems a bit nuts. So maxed out Sally could be a sleeper. There could be some massive wombo combos that you can throw down there. So that's also the thing, is like damage is crazy at the moment, dude. But there's also a few more units that I'm kind of looking at. I'm like, okay, well, if I combine this, I could just make damage even crazier. So it's like, how is healing going to be more valuable if I can just make the damage even more insane? So yeah, I'm kind of curious to play around with that. But if I want more damage in my main team, it's like swap out Mars for Sally, and then I can probably go to town. So yeah, I'm really excited to get her up at some point soon. And then we got SR hits like a truck, man. Really, really good damage output. He's just in the shadow. Output wise of like Lotus and Yami. So if you got those two, you probably don't need to take him up. But yeah, there are a lot of fans, a lot of enjoyers, so fair play. And then we got so many additional characters, man. Charlotte seems much better than she did on the beta. She's got this ultimate ability that applies a really significant attack reduction. Charlotte may be a little bit of a sleeper. So yeah, I'm curious to kind of keep my eye on this character. But again, attack reduction level 3 reduces attack by 52%. It's an AoE skill, applies to all opponents, and also has a 40% chance of applying bleed, which again you can synergy with Yami, get the stun on opponents. So again, that might be something there. Defense reduction on the special 2, gets this mark ability. If she kills an opponent with mark, she gets like an additional instant turn. So Charlotte may be a bit of a sleeper. Maybe she belongs up there. But again, she was so bad in the beta. I think that's a good place to start her off, and we'll see where she goes. And then we have, what is it? Is it Vanessa up next, man? Moving on to the SR characters. So Vanessa has massive damage reduction, dude. She's got this combined attack with Fimroll, which applies increased damage resistance by 32%. So this also might be an interesting thing that actually may move her up a little bit in the tier list, because Fimroll gets to go first. Like, he's always just straight out the gate, and if mitigation is really important in a certain stage, again, this could be pretty damn huge. And then also on top of that, you can use her turn to do thread binding magic, which increases defense by 140%. So if you've got that and you've got the combined attack stacked up, maybe that's going to be some really good damage mitigation. But also her ultimate ability applies total defense, which means all the damage you received is counted as blocked, which then applies like a additional layer of mitigation onto it. And then when damage is blocked as well, restores the health of your characters by 8% of max health as well. And this actually goes guaranteed, the health one, if you like fully max out this ability. So yeah, I'm actually really, really curious as to whether or not Vanessa actually might be like a sleeping like S or S tier unit. So there may be a little bit of potential to move up here. I'm actually really excited to get the resources to level her up, and I hope she's good. And then also we got Valtos here, who is basically he like is a bit of a chunky stamina applier. So instead of applying a speed buff, he just does like fixed increased stamina. So like just straight up fills up the meter, as opposed to kind of rearranging the speed order or increasing the speed that the meter fills. So again, this actually with certain characters could be really, really useful, because his special one applies a flat 10% increased stamina to the ally with lowest stamina. So if there's like a really slow unit, and I don't think Mimosa is necessarily this unit, but could be, it just would immediately allow Mimosa to take her turn. But again, if she takes it too early, before anybody's taking damage, it's maybe not that valuable, because again, as we've shown here, there's just better mitigation units, but maybe there's something going on there that could make her like a lot better than she is, because she still does have like a damage reduction off one of her skills. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's something with Valthos, man. Maybe there's something with Valthos and control teams, kind of like bringing up a slower unit. And then you've also got his ultimate, which applies 20% increased stamina to all allies. So again, he's one of like the 3 fastest units in the game, so you can use this fairly immediately, and then just take everybody up to their turn. So that could be very, very interesting. And also actually has like a massive increased crit rate and increased stamina by a fixed amount. Actually, it's not that much stamina, but it's a chance to apply a bit of it there. But yeah, the increased crit rate level 5 actually is pretty interesting on the ult. And then you've got a magic attack increase on the level 3. I think there is something there with Valtos that, again, could move him up the tier list, could make him a little bit more valuable. There's some interesting fundamental stuff for the current state of the meta, at least in my opinion. And then we've got, like, what is it? We got Aster, we got Magna, we got Luck. All 3 of these like are pretty good, but I think they're just better versions of what they do in like the S and SS tier. Like Aster's like not a bad kind of tank hybrid DPS, but I think just Mars is like a much better version. And yeah, for the other 2, they're just better damage characters overall. Like Yami's kind of like a much better Magna, because Magna has a chance to stun on the special 2, but guaranteed if the opponent is burning. So yeah, he can have some interesting synergies with like Fagolion and Leopold, and Luck is a bit of a single target trucker, but I don't think he's as good as like Aster or some of the other characters. And then we got Noelle. Noelle's very fast for the synergies. So if you want the what is it, the immediate bubble, which again, when you're progressing, dude, Noelle is so valuable because you're trying to punch up to bosses that may be a little bit more tough than you are currently, and it can just prevent you from getting one shot. So that's really, really nice. But Noelle overall, I think again, Vengeance is still the best support character. This guy from Eye of the Midnight Sun is just a much better version of Noelle, at least in my experience. Granted, he's a little bit slower from the offset, so they kind of have slightly different functionality. But Noelle, like, she is really nice to have early turn, and also has that barrier single target and can dispel freezes as well, so you can kind of bubble people on your team and help them out. And then also I've got these 2 additional characters from the Golden Dawn. Sorry, I think the linking's a little bit bugged on this website. But yeah, the really interesting thing about both of these, and why I've kind of put them a little bit higher, is they both have ultimate abilities that stun and are also AoE. So this one, AoE stun, 40% chance. The second skill as well has a 50% chance of applying stun. So, if you maybe don't have other options and you're just getting wrecked and you just need to, like, RNG your way into, like, a stun victory, or you want to do, like, a, quadruple stun wombo combo team, which may be super toxic. Yeah, maybe it's gonna work. Maybe it's gonna be a bit of an interesting one. So yeah, he's got stuns for days, mate. And then whereabouts is the other one? Sheeran, he's over here. So this one has a bit of defense reduction. Again, he's got exactly the same, or nearly exactly the same, like AoE stun on the ultimate as well, but also has like reduced damage resistance, can endurance down as well. So yeah, there's a few things on these which might make them a little bit better, a little bit interesting. Again, AoE stun just has so much value, man. If it's 40% chance, there's a pretty good chance it's going to stun too. But I still think Mars has the best stun in the game by a significant margin, just because there's so much value in multi-target matches, and all the matches are pretty much multi-target there. Right, so then moving a little bit further down, a lot of these units I really haven't tested out a significant amount. I've only kind of looked at certain abilities. It looks like Gauch, I think that's how I say his name. I may be completely incorrect there. This guy actually might be a bit of a sleeper. He's got a lot of additional attacks on the single target. So yeah, I actually really want to test this guy out, but I just don't know enough about him and whether or not he's really going to provide that level of value. But this guy, it seems to double up on a lot of his attacks. So yeah, I'm really curious as to whether or not he's going to be a bit of an MVP or a little bit of a dud. But he could go up to 80, might even go up to S tier if he really is all that. So yeah, I'm curious. And then we've got Charmy and Mimosa. The problem is, again, they're both very slow units, and they're both like healing units as well, which again, they just don't stack up with like massive, very fast damage reduction buffs. Like Charmy literally is the slowest character in the game, along with this Mimosa as well. And it's such a shame because this Mimosa was amazing on the beta, dude. She was so good. But I feel like healing is just nowhere near as valuable as it was previously. So that's really unfortunate. And then Heath, dude, rip Heath, man. He was one of the most broken units on the beta. Froze on like absolutely everything. Had like an AoE freeze, just dominated the game. And he's kind of just got bleeds on pretty much everything now. Doesn't have an AoE bleed though. Like, you know, there are maybe some uses for a lot of the B tier characters. And some interesting stuff for these two. R characters, which I think are maybe worth talking about just to round off this video. So Klaus has this ability on his second one to give a target, a single target, damage resistance, and also a chance to apply protection, which if you level this up, scales up to 80%. So protection cannot be selected as a target of an attack, so it protects somebody for 2 turns. Now, this could be, in the future, really, really valuable for certain bosses. I don't know 100%, and it's just pure speculation at the moment, but if, you know, the boss attacks randomly, and maybe like taunt doesn't work on it, and you can protect your really high single target damage character that may be a little bit more flimsy, while the boss kind of rails on the rest of the team, then yeah, I can see like amazing value from this particular ability. But it really depends how like future bosses and encounters look. So I've kind of like put him there in B as like, oh, okay, that could be a little bit noteworthy. And then we've also got Catherine as well. So having a look at Catherine's abilities, the thing that caught my eye is she's got like an AoE 50% chance of applying 20% decreased stamina. So decreases the turn gauge by a fixed amount. Again, 20% not that significant. It is AoE. It is actually a way to remove turn gauge from opponents. So I don't know 100% if that's going to be really good. But she also has this combined attack which allows her to dispel barrier as well. So she's kind of got like some interesting utility. She's also got buff block as well that circumstantially may be useful. But the problem is with a lot of the other R units, like, is they just have nothing, man. They've just given a lot of them, you know, friggin' basic attacks, or like, you know, they increase their crit by a little bit. Just no additional effects, no utility. And I don't think the damage scaling is significant enough to really make them that relevant. And then we've got like Sister Lily as well, who is just like, seems to be a pretty mid healer. I don't know, actually. I guess there's like a little bit of an attack buff, a little bit of a healing buff. Again, she's very, very, very slow. So I just don't know how you really get the value out of her. But actually, now seeing that attack buff, maybe there is something you can do with her. But the problem is, again, she's one of the slowest units in the game, dude. It's like everybody's taking their turn by the time I get that attack buff. So yeah, that's not like mega helpful in comparison. But ladies and gentlemen, that is my first attempt at a Black Clover live version tier list. Hopefully you enjoyed it today. Hopefully you got some really good insights from this tier list. And if you did, please do smash that like button. That'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you all very much for watching. Take care, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day.
You are not subscribed to the whale sin of spending? Who decided that? Subscribe now, or enjoy the bitter taste of regret.